Okay, good morning everybody, and Hazak Baruch Shavua Tov. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Sunday morning as we are going from holiday to Shabbat, moving back, holiday, Shabbat. What a month. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Only Be'ezat Hashem for smahot, we should be busy. Only for good things. So that's it, Shabbat's over, but we don't have the time to breathe because Sukkot's coming up. And it's literally in 2 days. So we got 2 days to prepare for Sukkot, everybody. Okay, so I think this is what I'm thinking. I'm not sure. I may change my mind from now till tomorrow morning. But I think that we should discuss today some ideas on the Sukkah, and tomorrow some ideas on the 4 species that we shake. Okay, that's my thoughts right now. So we're going to begin with the holiday of Sukkot and the sitting in the Sukkah, which is, after all, what the holiday is named after. We are entering a holiday called Sukkot, and in the Torah it calls it Zeman Simchatenu. Okay, but we know that all holidays are really times of happiness. So why is this holiday unique? Why is there a special mitzvah? You know, there's a special mitzvah to be happy on Sukkot. They asked the Gaon Mevilna, what's the hardest mitzvah to do? And they thought he was for sure going to say some complicated mitzvah. You know what he said? The hardest mitzvah is to be happy for the 7 days of Sukkot. You're not allowed to get mad. Not allowed to get aggravated. You can't get anything get to you. No, I mean, there's crazy stories. I mean, even in the Holocaust, of rabbis that have been able to find and only be happy, no matter what they were going through, because it's a mitzvah. And so we have a mitzvah to be happy. But every holiday is a mitzvah time. So what's unique about the holiday of Sukkot? That's question number 1. Okay. Now, we know, what exactly are we what are we celebrating? What are we sitting in the Sukkah for? Every holiday, we're remembering something, we're commemorating something, we're there to kind of bring up old feelings, to be able to re-experience in the present. Pesach, we eat matzah, to remember Exodus of Egypt. Shavuot, we're remembering the receiving of the Torah. What are we remembering in Sukkot? What are we doing? It's one of the 3 regalim, it's one of the 3 festivals that we have to make a pilgrimage up to Eretz Israel. Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot. What is Sukkot all about? Because, answer, very simple. When we were traveling in the desert for 40 years, just imagine, no showers, they didn't have, speed stick yet, or, whatever brand you use. Just imagine how smelly it must have been. All the BO and all the, unnecessary odors that are coming out of people. How do you go through a desert for 40 years like that? And the answer is because we had a special protection. We had the Ananeh HaKavod. We had huts. We had these clouds for 40 years. We know there were 3 miracles: the water, the bread, and the huts, and the clouds. Okay? The man, water, and clouds. So we remember the man. We remember the clouds. By the way, it's an interesting question. Why don't we have a holiday remembering the man? Why don't we have a holiday remembering the water? Why only a holiday remembering the clouds? Okay, it's a question I want you to think about. Maybe tomorrow we'll give an answer, maybe not, but think about it. But either way, why are we sitting in the Sukkah? To remember that Hashem gave us clouds in the desert for 40 years. Okay, that's a big kindness. That's one answer. But actually the Gemara gives another answer. A very natural answer. We're remembering not the clouds that we had in the desert, but we're remembering the fact that we had simple huts in the desert to give us shade. Okay, so either way we had shade. The question is, was it our shade that we made through our own huts that we built, or was it shade that we got through God's hut, through the clouds? Okay, whatever it is. If we analyze each one alone for a minute, interesting ideas. The idea that we had huts, we built huts. Why do we need a holiday to celebrate that? Why am I celebrating a hut? It's not a miracle. The clouds, I understand, miracle. Man, Mizrahi, Shavuot, all those are miracles. But when we built the huts. We went out, we got some wood, we put them together, we made a thing. There's no miracle in that. So what exactly are we celebrating? And the Rashbam, a grandson of Rashi, explains in this pasuk of Vayikra, when the Torah says, "Leman yed'u dorotechem ki basukot oshavti," he explains the holiday of Sukkot beautifully. He says as follows. Throughout the year, we have different checkpoints in the agricultural cycle. So in Pesach, we harvest, and then throughout the summer, we're putting it out, we're spreading it to dry, and then in Sukkot time, we accomplish final product. It's Hag HaAsif. What does that mean, Hag HaAsif? It's the holiday of gathering. Today we don't appreciate this. Today, if you want bread, you could go in January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. You could go 12 months a year and you'll find bread. Not bread, you'll find 1,000 different types of bread. And if the store ran out, you're like, what's going on? Where's all the bread? Why are you guys so behind, right? They only have 76, not 77 types of bread. They're missing the Ezekiel, but the raisin one. And we're going crazy. Today, you want any food you want. It's all in the store available. It wasn't that simple throughout history. Many years ago, you had to wait till a certain time of the year till your produce was ready. And then you saved it for the rest of the season. Sukkot, you brought in all your grains, all your produce. And it's a big beracha. But like everything in life, when there's beracha, there's also test. Because you think about, right, a person that becomes successful, a person that makes a lot of money. You see it a lot of times in people. When a person's a nobody, when a person doesn't make so much money in work, when a person's on hard times, right? We know people like that. They're always praying, they're giving tzedakah. They don't even have to give, but they're giving, and they're wearing tzitzit and two tzitzits, and they're, always nice to people. Baruch Hashem, it'll be okay, it'll be good, right? And what happens a lot of times when people make money, they become very arrogant. And the more we make, the more arrogant we become. The more we make, the more self-made we feel. We feel like it's our hard-earned money. We finally make it. We finally become big. It's money. It's with talents, right? It's a big test of becoming wealthy, by the way. Making money is not simple. Rav Yisrael Salanter, when he heard that his wife bought a lottery ticket, he took two men and he said, "You are my witnesses, and I am testifying before you that I don't want any part of my wife's lottery ticket. If she wins, I want 0% of her winnings, of her earnings." They're like, why? What's the big deal of making some money? And Rav Yisrael Salanta said, right now there's a lot of poor people in the city of Salant. A lot of aniyim, a lot of paupers that I can't help. And after 120, I'm going to go to Shamayim, and I'm not going to be held accountable for all those poor people. I didn't have the means to help them. But if I have money, every poor person in the city is going to become my obligation. Every ani. Mr. Mizrahi, you know that there was a lot of poor people. Every night you went to sleep with hundreds of thousands in your bank account. How do you explain that? How do you justify? People didn't even have meat, chicken for Shabbat. People couldn't afford to put their kids in yeshiva. They ended up going to public school. You have 18 cars. You have 3 yachts. You have 4 homes. How do you explain that, Rabbi? It's a very scary ta'ana. It's a very scary accusation. It's a very scary indictment. It's an indictment that Rav Yisrael Salanter wanted no part of. He took 2 witnesses. He said, if my wife wins, I want 0. Because wealth is a big test. We all want wealth, Be'ezrat Hashem. We all want to become rich. But we have to remember, it's a big test. It's a big test whether or not we'll help people with it. It's a big test whether or not we'll remain humble. Like the pasuk is going to say, Vayishman Yeshurun Vayiba'at. When Yeshurun gets fat, Yeshurun is another way of referring to the Jewish people. Right? Like there's a synagogue here called Kehilat Yeshurun. Okay? Jeshurun congregation. Yeshurun is the Jewish people. Vayishman Yeshurun. When Yeshurun gets fat is an analogy. Doesn't literally mean that you put on 50 pounds and that you grew 4 sizes, right? It's an analogy for a person who becomes fat and wealthy. You know, in the olden days, by the way, the fatter someone was, it showed wealth. Skinny wasn't ideal, right? They used to try to, wear certain types of, neck things that would make them look plump. Vayishman yeshurun vayiv'at. What happens when someone gets fat and wealthy? Vayiv'at. They start kicking. And Moshe Rabbeinu warns the Jewish people, Veram levavecha v'shachachta. Be very careful. Don't let your heart get arrogant and forget Hashem. A lot of times we see, unfortunately, people that make it financially, and all of a sudden they stop giving tzedakah. All of a sudden they stop being nice. All of a sudden they become very rude and arrogant. All of a sudden they become very self-centered. They stop praying. They stop learning. They figure it's all now about them. Why? Their whole life they were hazi. They were nobody. Now they're rich. Now people are giving them honor. Now people are respecting them. Now people are kissing their feet because they have money. And it's getting to them. And we have to always remain humble. And so here is a time that a person is tempted. They're making a lot of money. Hag ha'asif, as they're bringing all the money in. It's payday. Right? Like you get the stimulus checks. They got the check now in the mail. Sukkot time it's payday. All the year. You get paid now Sukkot. And as you're bringing it in, says the Torah, remember where you came from. Remember who you were. You were once a nobody. Not a nobody. You were once living in a hut. You know what's a hut? You couldn't even have normal plumbing. You had zero. You were living in a hut. I brought you into the land of Israel. And by the way, we shake the 4 minim, we shake the 4 species of the lulav, etrog, hadas, arava. You know what all 4 have in common? These 4 minim actually need a lot of water. Right? The pasuk doesn't say even, by the way, to shake an etrog. I want to tell you something very cool right now. How do we know which fruit to use? You know how we know? It doesn't say it in the Torah. It says pri etz hadar. It says take a nice fruit. I don't know. I think mangoes are beautiful, if you ask me. Especially when they cut them in that zigzag, You look at, you have a lot of cool, nice, good-looking fruits today. Why isn't etrog good-looking? They're all good-looking. A lot of good-looking. What's unique about the etrog? So the Gemara says, actually, hadar comes from the word hydro in Greek. This is the Gemara talking. The Torah used a word that was used also in Greece. It's a Greek word. Hadar from the word hydro. Which fruit needs a lot of hydro, a lot of water? That's the etrog. So we are celebrating the water that we have in Israel. Just like we eat matzah, we're recognizing freedom. But right before freedom, we have to remember maror. For the contrast, you remember the bad and then the matzah. So too we sit in huts to remember, like the maror. We were once nobody. Avadim hayinu lefar'o b'Mizrahi. We once sat in huts. Don't get arrogant, Ariel. Don't become haughty. Remain humble. You're all successful now. You're all rich. Remain humble. Okay? And so that's why we celebrate the holiday of Sukkot. And by the way, this answers another question. If we're celebrating and remembering the huts that we made in the desert for 40 years, when did we enter the desert? When did we go into the desert? We went into the desert when we left Egypt. When did we leave Egypt? Pesach time. So the first day we sat in a hut was actually Pesach time. So if anything, we should celebrate Sukkot while eating matzah in Pesach, in the middle of April. Why are we celebrating Sukkot now in Tishrei in September? That's a question that's asked by everybody. Everybody wants to know if we're remembering the huts we had for 40 years, and it started in Nisan. We should celebrate Sukkot in Nisan, not 6 months later in Tishrei. According to the Rashbam, we have a beautiful answer. If the goal is to keep us humble and to appreciate Hashem, not to get arrogant, this is the time of the year when we're bringing in all the produce. This is the harvest season. This is when we're bringing it all in, Haga Asif, and there's no better time that we need the reminder to remain humble. So we celebrate Sukkot now. That's a very, very powerful answer. That's all under the understanding that we're celebrating the hut. Okay? Very nice. So again, hut, why are we celebrating? To keep us humble. Remember, you were once a nobody. You once had nothing. You weren't always rich. Stay humble. Remember that it's God. Okay? God gave you your money. God gave us our success. God gave us our wealth. And so we are celebrating Sukkot. When we go in for 7 days into the Sukkah, we got to spend 7 days looking around. You know? I was speaking to somebody. They said, my rabbi, my Sukkah is very poor. Good. Look around that poor Sukkah and remember that Hashem gave us everything that we have. Okay. Next answer. Clouds. Now, clouds is beautiful. Protection. But like we said, we had 3 miracles. We had water, we had man, and we had clouds. Why are we always celebrating the clouds? Why is there no holiday to remember the water? Why is there no holiday to remember the man? The Haidah gives one answer. The Haidah says that food and water are essentials. Right? You need food to live. You need water to live. You don't give somebody, necessities as a sign of love. You ask somebody, do your parents love you? They say, yeah. Ask them, how do you know? How do you know your parents love you? They'll never say, oh, because, they put a roof over my head. Ask every kid, how do you know your mommy and your daddy love you? Oh, because he took me to the Yankee game. Because we went to Disney World for winter vacation. Dude, Disney World was a $5,000 vacation. I spend thousands every month on your rent, on your food. But the answer is, if you want an expression of love, it's on the things that you don't have to give. Right? When a man proposes to a lady, will you marry me? How does he propose? He gets on one knee. He doesn't propose with a loaf of bread. Will you marry me? Right? He doesn't do that. Well, it depends. Is it, whole wheat? What kind of bread do you have there? He proposes with a ring. Why? You don't propose with... And by the way, it's not because it's expensive. Because why? I'll prove it to you. He comes with a bouquet of flowers. He comes with a rose. The rose doesn't have to be expensive. You can buy bread that's more expensive than a rose. Some of these salads today, $20, $30, more expensive than a flower. The point is, food is a necessity. You don't show someone that you love them. You don't propose with necessities. You want to show that you love me? Show extra. Hashem needed to give us water, bread, man. That makes sense. He had to give it to us. We have to live. We have to eat. We want us to die? You took us out of Egypt to die? Of course not. We have to eat. But he didn't have to give us the clouds. That's an extra. And so on Sukkot, where Hashem wants to show his love for us, we commemorate the clouds. That's why we only celebrate Sukkot, remembering those clouds, remembering the love. We don't really need to remember bread and water because those are necessities. Right? The memories that we have are on the extras of life. The Arizal, by the way, points out something beautiful. How many walls does my Sukkah need? Anyone know? Give it a couple of seconds. If you want to type in your answer. How many walls does my Sukkah need? Oh, wow, okay. I guess we learned from last year. Beautiful. So the answer is 2 and a tefah. 2 walls. I need 2 full walls and a little bit. Okay? Again, I don't want to get into the details, but so technically 4 is great. So you could even have 3 and you could even have 2.5. I don't know if we did this last year, but I think we did. But either way, it's beautiful to see it again. The Gaon Mevilna says that you see it all hinted in the word Sukkah. Everyone write the word Sukkah on a piece of paper. I'll write it here on my post-it. Okay? Here, Sukkah. You see it? So take a look. The first letter is a Samech. That has 4 walls. That's the best Sukkah, 4 walls. Kosher, even 100% kosher is also 3 walls, like the letter Chaf. And also 100% kosher is 2 and a little bit, like the letter Hey. That's really cool stuff, right? Okay, so 2 and a little bit. Again, I don't want to get to ask your LOR, your local Orthodox rabbi, of how much is a little bit. But what exactly is going on with the 2 and a bit? What is that? What kind of measurement is that? And explains the Arizal, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are, we know, called Yamim Noraim. They are days of awe. They're Yemei Din. We're getting judged, days of judgment. But Sukkot, we're entering now a new domain. We're entering a time of chesed, of kindness. Matter of fact, we know every day in the Beit HaMikdash they would do Nisuch HaMayim. They would pour water. What's water? Water is chesed. So, example, Friday night in Kiddush, when you're doing Kiddush on wine, wine is red din. We're gonna though soften the din by pouring 3 drops of water. I don't know if you do this. Do you do this every Friday night? You should pour 3 drops of water. This is not halacha, this is Kabbalah. Because water is, again, it's gonna soften the din, the judgment. Okay, so water is kindness, and we pour water on the Mizbeach. Sukkot, a holiday of kindness. We know, by the way, also in Kabbalah, we're getting a little bit Kabbalistic here, right is chesed. Right hand is kindness. Left hand is din. That's why whenever you say a bracha on anything, always hold it in your right hand, even if you're a lefty. Hold it in your right hand. Okay? Whenever we want to walk around the Torah, we walk right. When we do hakafot in the shul on Simchat Torah, we walk right. Always to the right. If you want to shower your right side of your body first. Always right. Okay? Right is always the ideal. Okay? If you want to punch someone, use the left, because left, okay? Left is din. Left is strong. Okay? So, small dohek, yamin mekarev. You push someone with the left, and then you bring them back with the right. Okay? The pasuk says in Shir HaShirim, Semolo tahad leroshi, vimino tehabekeni. Shlomo HaMelech saying, Semolo, his left hand, was under my head, and with his right hand, he hugs me. The Arizal says, Rosh, what else? What does that remind us of? Which holiday sounds like Rosh? Rosh Hashanah. So says the Arizal, Semolo, Shlomo HaMelech is saying, Semolo, the left hand, that's Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. That's the Yamim of Din. But Vimino, the right, Tehabekeni, Sukkot, is the right hand. Sukkot is the Yamin. Sukkot is Hashem hugging us. And says the Arizal, how many walls does the Sukkah need? 2.5. Look at 2.5. It's like a person hugging, right? A hug has 1 wall, 2 walls, and then a little half, right? It looks like, right? I don't know if you could see it on the screen, right? It looks like 1, 2, and 3, right? 2.5. Okay? And that's the hug. That's the hug of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So when we sit in a sukkah that has 2.5 walls, we should kind of feel like we're in God's arm, His right hand. We're entering a time of kindness, of love, of rachamim. Beautiful. Rav Bernstein over here, he quotes Rav Hutner. Rav Hutner says something very powerful. We know that altogether, how many holidays are from the Torah that we have? Let's see who gets it first. Quick, let's go. How many holidays from the Torah? Purim is not from the Torah. Chanukah is not from the Torah. So how many do we have? Well, we have Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. So we have 5. Okay? 5 holidays are from the Torah. Okay? But the 5 are really divided into 2 groups. We have the Regalim and the Yamim Noraim. We have the festivals, Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, right? Those are the Regalim, the pilgrimages, and Regel from the word foot. 3 feet, right? The feet. We walk to the Beit HaMikdash. And then we have Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. So we could divide the 5 into 2 categories, right? The festivals, the pilgrimages, and Yamim Noraim. Which one does Sukkot fall under? Which one is Sukkot? Well, right away we assume, what do you mean, Rabbi? You just said Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot. We think that Sukkot is the end of the 3 Regalim. And it's true. However, Rav Hutner says that actually Sukkot's also part of the Yamim Noraim. So if we can imagine, we have Pesach Shavuot, we have Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and the end of both is Sukkot. Sukkot, the end of the three of Pesach Shavuot, and it's also the end and the climax of the Yamim Noraim. I saw someone in shul today. I said, how were your Yamim Noraim? He said, we're still in it. We're still in the Yamim Noraim. It's not over. Yom Kippur is finished, but we're not done. And he's 100% right. We're not done yet. We still have Sukkot. Sukkot's part of the days of awe that began with Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. The end is not Yom Kippur. The end is actually Sukkot. And the Rav Hutner brings a proof to this. The Midrash says about this idea of waiving the four minim. The Midrash says, when two people go to court, how do you know who's the winner and who's the loser? Which one came out innocent, which one came out guilty? He says, the one that comes out jumping up and down, he's the winner. Says the Midrash, so too the Jewish people, we went through Sukkot. We went through Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, we were fighting for our lives. It was us versus the angels that were trying to persecute us. How do we know if we came out good or not? We came out vindicated. The answer is, we take the four minim, the lulav, the etrog, the those are our weapons. And we rejoice, and we shake, and we sing, Vesamachta, and we do Hoshana. All right, we're all excited. That's our way of showing that we had a successful Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. With the four minim, we thank Hashem for the water, like we said, but we're actually showing that we won in the Yom Kippur. So we see from this Midrash, Sukkot is the culmination of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Also, another proof. I just brought you a proof that Sukkot's really part of the Yamim Noraim from the four species. I'll bring you a proof from the Sukkah itself. We asked before, why do we sit in a Sukkah now? We should sit back in April when we left Mitzrayim, when we got the clouds. The Rashbam gave one answer. The Gaon Mevilna gives another answer. The Gaon Mevilna says, we're celebrating the clouds, right? When did we get the clouds? When we left Egypt. But don't forget, we lost those clouds. When we left Egypt, we got clouds, but then we lost them very soon. Anyone know why we lost them? Easy answer. Why do we lose them? We did a sin that made us lose those clouds, those beautiful clouds that protected us. We did Chet HaEgel. Says the Arizal, if you calculate, you'll find that we actually got those clouds back in the holiday of Sukkot. How so? So he says, Moshe came down the day after Yom Kippur. So that's the 11th of Tishri. Okay? He came down the mountain while finally getting forgiven on the 11th of Tishri. Count with me. He told the people to build the Mishkan. Okay, that's going to be in Rashi Shemot, chapter 35, Pasuk 1. Okay? Then the people brought donations to the Mishkan, all the materials, the gold, the silvers, everything, for the next 2 days. Baboker. So now, 12th and 13th. On the next day, the 14th, Moshe said, all right, we have enough. We don't need any more donations. Can you imagine? They collected for the Beit HaMikdash, the Mishkan. They were done in 2 days, right? Every synagogue's dream to be able to fundraise in 2 days. Okay. Then, on the 15th, they began building the Mishkan. And the building of the Mishkan signifies the forgiveness for Chet HaEgel. So when did the clouds come back, says the Gaon Mevilna? They came back on the 15th of Tishri, which is Sukkot. And so, we asked, we should celebrate Sukkot in the middle of April, in Nisan. The answer is, but we lost those clouds. We only got them back now in 2 days from now. Okay? In the month of Tishri, when we got fully forgiven for Chet HaEgel. And he explains with this something very, very powerful. Are ladies obligated to sit in a sukkah? No. The answer is no. Okay? They don't have to. And we wonder why. Why not? They got to eat matzah. They're part of the holidays. Why are women exempt from sukkah? The Gaon of Vilna says, based on what we just said, it's very simple. We're celebrating not the OG clouds, the original clouds. You know what we're celebrating? We're celebrating the new clouds that came after Chet HaEgel. But wait, says the Gaon of Vilna. Very good. The women were not part of Chet HaEgel. In a way, they never lost the original clouds. We're celebrating on Sukkot the new clouds. Ladies never lost the clouds. They never did Chet HaEgel, and therefore they're exempt from the Sukkah to begin with. Beautiful idea. So, just putting it all together, in essence, Sukkot is celebrating a successful Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah of forgiveness, and so we sit in a Sukkah, which is the renewal of the clouds, right? It's forgiveness. And also we wave the lulav as a sign of victory over the angel of death. Okay? So we prove that Sukkot is really the ending of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, the Yamim Noraim. But also, of course, it's part of Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. So in a way, says Rav Hutner, Sukkot's a double Yom Tov. Double Yom Tov. It's part of the Regalim, and it's also part of the Yamin Uraim. And he explained something beautiful that we won't really understand because we don't have today's sacrifices. But when we had the Bet HaMikdash, every holiday, they would bring sacrifices, extra sacrifices. Besides the daily sacrifices that we have to do every day, on a holiday, we brought extra sacrifices. How many sheep did we bring every holiday? Every holiday, we would get 7 sheep. Sukkot, take a guess how many? 14. Why 14? According to Rav Hutner, we now understand because Sukkot's a double holiday. We have to bring 7 for the fact that it's part of the Regalim, but we also have to bring 7 for the fact that it's part of the Yamin Noraim of the days of all. So we have 14 clouds. Rav Bernstein says, based on this, something very, very powerful. He quotes Rav David Cohen. We have a machloket. We have now an argument here. Are we celebrating the clouds or are we celebrating the huts? Says Rav David Cohen, they're actually both true and they go hand in hand. If it's true that Sukkot is a dual holiday, we could say both are true. On the one hand, we have huts, and that's looking at Sukkot as a culmination of the 3 regalim. You just finished Pesach, you just finished Shavuot, you just finished, right? It's part of the agricultural process. Pesach and Shavuot are both milestones in agriculture. Sukkot is the culmination. And with that, as we finally finish and we bring in all the produce, don't get arrogant. Remain humble. And so we bring in all of the produce, and we do that by going out into a hut, remembering that the huts that we used to have, we weren't always rich. Don't forget, Hashem is the one who's on top of our success. On the other hand, we also remember that Sukkot is the ending of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. It's the ending of forgiveness. When were we fully forgiven for Chet HaEgel? That's when the clouds came back. So we have 2 aspects that we're celebrating, huts and clouds. So when we sit in a Sukkah, after all is said and done, when we're sitting in a Sukkah tomorrow night, what should we think? We should have in mind both. We should sit and have in mind that all of our financial success from throughout the year of Pesach and Shavuot and Sukkot, all of our money, who gave it to me? Who gave me my talents? Who gave me my children? Who gave me my job? Who gave me whatever I have? It's all from Hashem. I was once a slave. I was once sitting in a hut. I was once very, very poor. So I remember the hut. Hashem, you gave me everything. And I also remember the clouds. God, you forgave me for my sins of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and now I am celebrating that forgiveness. And we actually could find a hint in the Pasuk. And we'll end with this. Pasuk says, Basukot teshvu. How many times does it say it in the Torah? It says it 3 times. It says the mitzvah to sit in Sukkah 3 times. But one of those times it says Basukot, written fully with a Vav. We spelled it here without a Vav, which is how it's spelled in the Torah, by the way. Without a Vav. But one time it says it with a Vav. Why? Because the first 2 times it's telling you to sit. And there's one type of Sukkah. Sit in a Sukkah, sit in a Sukkah. How many Sukkahs? You have one type of Sukkah. A Sukkah is a Sukkah. But when it says Leman yed'u dorotechem, the third time, when it says to remember, why should I remember? Two reasons. Hat, cloud, and therefore it's written male, it's written full with a vav, because there are two reasons that we have to have in mind. And if this is all true, going back to our original question, and with this we're done. We said that there's a special mitzvah to be happy on Sukkot. And we asked, aren't we supposed to always be happy? We're supposed to always be happy. Why are we only extra happy on Sukkot? Every holiday should be happy. And the answer is, you're right. Every holiday gets a dosage of happiness, but Sukkot's two holidays in one. Sukkot, we're celebrating two happinesses. And therefore, we have to be extra happy. Not one happy. Sukkot, it was one holiday, so you're happy one time. But Sukkot's two holidays. It's the ending of the three festivals, but it's also the ending of the high holiday season. So these are, again, beautiful thoughts from Mariah Bernstein on the idea of sitting in the Sukkah. We should always be zochet to keep these thoughts in mind, remembering huts and where our success comes from, and remembering the hug, the beautiful hug, the clouds, the kindness from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We'll stop over here. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.